Hello and welcome to a research method session, and it's going to focus on case studies. Now, I can just hear you saying, "Oh, Mrs. Smith, what is a case study?" Well, that is a really good question. A case study is an in-depth investigation, description, and analysis of a single person, group, institution, event. It's about one particular thing. So it literally means you're collecting a lot of information about one thing. We're not focusing on multiple things, just one particular pin. So it could be, for example, yourself. If I wanted to do a case study on you, I could get hold of lots of different information about you. For example, I might get all your school reports. I could interview your friends, teachers, and family. I could interview you, observe you in your activities that you do. So it's about using a collection of different types of research to get as much information as possible about one particular thing. Case studies in themselves can take place over a long period of time. Now, we call a study that takes a long period of time a longitudinal study. And it could be, like we're saying, on yourself. We could follow you for 10 years of your life, maybe the first 10 years of your life. So therefore, it takes a long time to gather all of this information. But what it predominantly does is generate qualitative data. Now, you know what qualitative data means. Qualitative data is data that is very insightful. It's based on people's opinions, attitudes, thoughts, feelings. It is data that is presented in words. Now, case studies can generate quantitative data. Now, remember what quantitative data, remember, a good way to remember what quantitative data is, simplify the word to quantity, and that's numbers. Quantitative data is data that's presented in numbers, whereas qualitative data, take that complex word, simplify it to quality. So something that gives us quality. And qualitative data kind of tells us why. It's giving us this insight into what this one thing, this one person, this one group, this one organization is all about. So a case study is quite different to other research methods because in itself, it's not really, I don't know whether I should say this, it's not really a research method on its own. It is a method of gathering information that uses a collection of other research methods in order to get that information. So let's go to a little bit of AO3 here and let's look at some of the strengths, so some evaluation here. The nice thing about a case study, it generates a lot of in-depth, detailed data. We get a lot of information. And it's very insightful. It's telling us a lot about that person, and that's great. It can be used when it's unethical to use other research methods in investigating something. Say, for example, we wanted to understand anorexia, but it would be really unethical to do a laboratory experiment in which we get people to become anorexic and to see the process of that. It would be totally unethical to do something like that. But actually, we could build up a case study. We could interview people, perhaps, who have anorexia. We could collect a lot of data from different organizations about, issues concerned with anorexia. So here we could gather a lot of information because we're not actually doing the research ourselves. We're gathering other people's, and we're usually using what's called secondary data. Data, majority of the time, it comes from somebody else. But if we interview people and perhaps people have recovered from their eating disorder, we would call that primary data because we generated it ourselves. But the nice thing about a case study, it's when it is totally unethical to do something. A case study might be the alternative to allow for research to take place when any other method says, no, we can't do it. It can also give us insight for future research. Because we've done a lot of research out to find out about some phenomenon, I'm getting tongue-tied there, about some phenomenon or some organization, it might then lead us to carry on with further further research. So we might start off with a case study and we might say, hold on, there's something here. We need to investigate it further. So it might then lead us to do additional research. Now, the opposites of strengths are our limitations. Now, there is a big problem with the sample size. The sample size is made up of one. So it's the uniqueness of that one. So therefore, it's going to affect the generalization to the wider population, because how can we generalize the findings from this one person and expect it to represent everybody else? So that is a problem. Creating a case study is very time consuming and very expensive. One, because of the time, and two, because we need trained individuals to be able to access the relevant information and to be able to analyze it. Because it's so full of qualitative data, we need highly trained individuals that can analyze the content of it so that we get meaningful information. It also lacks scientific rigor. Because a lot of the information is based on subjective views, it's not replicable because it's based on one person's experience. There's a lot of issues here when it comes to, is it objective? Is it reliable? Can we apply it to everybody else? So there is a problem there. And also, it can be affected by researcher bias, because the researcher might actually identify what they think is important to put in the case study, and therefore it's also based on their subjectivity, their ideals. And again, that can skew the data that you're getting from the research. So case studies, just a little video to get your head around what it is. Work well, my lovely psychology students, and take care.